we have been going around to as many towns as we can. The last one, just to find out what's going on here. Sometimes you get lost in the shuffle, as they say. And we were in New Ashford the last time.
Yeah.
Had a good crowd there too. This is a good crowd, by the way.
For Clarksburg.
No,
yeah.
it really
Yes,
is. It really is. Which is good, but we're here to listen to you and maybe answer your questions and stuff like that about what's going on. It's not a fun time, obviously, which is the only reason I decided to hang around for one more go-around. And but it is really bad. A lot of people are hurting out there. A lot of needs are out there. The craziness that's going on. We're in the war. We're out of the war, and but it's having an impact, obviously, on local communities and people who live in them. So we're here to listen. Fire away. You're gonna say
We're just diving right in.
well, they've been sitting here waiting for you.
Well, I'm Paul Mark. I'm our senator, and it's nice to see everybody if I don't already know you. And thank you, Representative Barrett, for being here. And to give a little further context, so I represent 57 cities and towns in all of Berkshire County, 11 in Franklin County, 9 in Hampshire, and 5 in Hamden. And so in order to try to stay as accessible as possible, which is extremely difficult with a district bigger than the state of Rhode Island, we try to do roving office hours. And so every month, in case people don't know, either myself, Casey, my aide, who I hope you've already met, or John, who's my aide that covers the 25 towns not in the Berkshires, we do office hours every month, twice a month, in North Adams, Dalton, Pittsfield, Lenox, Great Barrington, Southwick, Williamsburg, and Buckley. And then to supplement that, I do 1 or 2 of these every single month, where it's just like open forum, come in, chat about whatever you like. And I think you're actually number 50. And I got 7 to go, which is, we're getting to the end, and I thought it would take 2 or 3 years. It's actually, this is year 4. I can't believe how long it takes, but it's a lot. And so I appreciate people coming out and discussing whatever they want to talk about in state government. And I'm really glad that Representative Barrett is here with me, because of all of these office hours, I think all but 2 local rep has come with me. And I think it's important to show people that we work together, that we're a team, that we're fighting together for this community and all the other communities. And here in the Berkshires, I'm the first senator to go to the Senate from the House since 1961. So for 60 years, we never had a legislator in the Senate that had previous legislative experience. And I think that makes us a better team, because like we're in the middle of the state budget right now, and Rep. Barrett did a lot of great stuff in the House version of the budget, which freed me up to do other things in the Senate version. And when he does come up short, it gives me a chance to back him up, and vice versa. And so working really closely together, I think makes us much more effective. And it's important when you think in the Senate there's 40 of us, and in the House of Representatives 160 of them. And you got 5 in the city of Boston in the Senate. And then you got me covering not even just Berkshire County, but beyond. And so like we're always up against that numbers game. When people ask us sometimes like, why doesn't this happen? Why doesn't that happen? Because if it came to a up or down vote, the people in the city area are going to say, no, there's a small town called Clarksburg? Where the heck's that? You get that kind of thing. So we try to have as big of an impact as possible. And I think generally we are having a good level of success there. So thank you, and as the rep said, we're happy to talk about whatever you like. We generally go for like an hour, but if it doesn't take that long, fine. If it takes longer, we're here. And please have refreshments. It's remarks and refreshments. So do take advantage.
Fire away.
And seeing no questions, meeting adjourned. I have a question. Who's the gentleman in the picture?
It's Farmer Demers, up on Middle Road. He ran a farm for years, and he raised big horses. They weren't Clydesdales, but they were in the same category. And he actually took his horses down to Ronald Reagan's inauguration
Oh, wow.
and drove in, so.
And the Fall Foliage Parade many years.
Yeah, we had many years in the parade,
Awesome.
so. But I can get it started, it's just, I always talk, so I wish other people would, but, we just want to let you know, Clarksburg, isn't in bad shape. And I worry sometimes that our representatives think, well, Clarksburg, we're not in a lot of debt. But it's because we've done away with everything. And I think it's important that you know that. We've done away with our police department. Our senior center was going to close, and luckily for volunteers, they're able to keep that going. But I think we're the only senior center in Western Massachusetts that runs on a volunteer basis. And we got a volunteer fire department. It's just we have nowhere else that the town can cut. So obviously the school's a big issue because it's a big part of our thing, which brings me to the point of busing. I know that the state pays like 75 or 90% of busing for districts that
Regional, yeah.
for regional districts, and we're not regional. I mean, we have Row, and we have Florida Mountain, Savoy. I don't see how we can regionalize and go to one school because there's such a difference. But yet we do have busing issues, which are much smaller than the districts because we're just within town. But why shouldn't we get anything? And we don't get anything. So in my opinion, it's just, it would be fair if the state just paid 75 or 90% of everybody's busing. It would be equal for all the towns. So I don't know if you can address that or if there's any possibility of that or what.
I can just pick up on that. I filed an amendment to the state budget basically, which said, because right now it says that the state of Massachusetts is to pay busing for every school district. All right, then the regionals over here creating their own district. So if you're a regional school district, you've got reimbursement, which is what you just said. However, communities like Clarksburg, communities like the city of North Adams, which is not in a real district, also, I put in, the amendment said that taking out the words, because what it says now is subject to appropriation. This, in other words, the state of Massachusetts should contribute to all busing of non-regional school districts. Secret words, subject to appropriation. So I took an amendment to that terminology and cut it out. And of course, it went nowhere. They said, no, we're not going to do that because then they would have to fund it.
Right.
So every year I do it and I'll file it again. But there's more talk of it in the legislature, I don't know about the Senate side, of these school districts because they're all hurting for money. We have a lousy formula in the state. You do get rural school aid in Clarksburg, which they do not get in North Adams. They're not considered to be rural. Added $2 million to it in the fair share amendment budget, which means $2 million more will come to the regional school districts, but it doesn't do anything for places like North Adams and Pittsfield, Lenox, Lee. They all have their own school districts, and that's what makes the difference there. But you're right on target, but there just doesn't seem to be enough legislators that are pushing for it are impacted. Most of the districts. And what gets me, Boston's in the same category. They get no reimbursement because they're their own school district. And the chairman of Ways and Means is from Boston. And it seems like half the legislature's from Boston too. And they haven't pushed for that because they have other avenues to get money. Imagine what they make on hotel, motel taxes, food tax, and all that. It's just a real, that's how Lenox gets away with it, that extra money coming in. So unless you put up the motel or hotel Clarksburg in there, you're not gonna get any hotel motel tax. And so there's a problem there, but no, you know, what I'm saying, in $1.50 will get you a small coffee someplace. But we continue to keep it on the surface so that they listen to it.
Yeah, and it's part of like a bigger picture problem. Like the representative said, the formula we use now, I think, is from the 90s. So it's kind of getting out of balance. It's kind of falling out of relevance. And maybe 10 years ago, we passed a bill, a little less than that, maybe 9 years ago, we passed a bill called the Student Opportunity Act, and that infused billions of dollars, literally billions of dollars, into the state budget for education. And this budget we're undertaking right now, the House went in April, we're gonna do ours at the end of this month in the Senate side, is gonna be the last year of implementing that. And the Senate budget also includes a reestablishment of that Foundation Budget Review Commission. And so what we're hoping to have happen is, if that becomes law by the end of this calendar year, that next year this commission will meet, we'll have public input, we'll have hearings, and we'll kind of listen to, so what's changed over the last 30 years that isn't keeping pace with what the actual needs of school districts and municipalities are today in 2026. And hopefully within the next 2 years, we'll have an updated formula that'll be a little more effective, and then we'll have to fight hard to try to fund that properly and make sure that the formula reflects unique communities like Clarksburg and other cities and towns throughout the Berkshires, and that it's properly funded, because that subject appropriation line the law can say 100% for something, and then we end up only appropriating 90%. And because of the way the Constitution works, that's allowed. But I mean, ultimately, the state should evaluate what the total cost of educating every child in the state is, and then send an equal amount of money that covers whatever the appropriate percent is, and like you expect a local contribution, of course, as well. And only then will we make sure that every student, regardless of what zip code they live in, has the same opportunity to have a great education. And transportation costs could definitely be a part of all of that. We just always remember that when we're talking about funding, we want everything fully funded, but we also recognize, unlike Washington, the state budget has to be balanced, and so there's only so much money, and we do want to be respectful of that, but we have to invest, and we also have to consider. The statistic I heard was, I think in the next 10 years there's going to be 40,000 fewer kids in school in Massachusetts. I mean, that's a big change, and it's going to have an effect on, where do we have school buildings. Thankfully, you're committed, and I read your town meeting went really well, and I think that was great. You are doing so much better than many other communities, which is awesome. In Mohawk Trail School District, I mean, they've closed several of their elementary schools, and they're talking about closing them all and moving the whole district just to one campus. I mean, it's for K through 12. So how we address that, knowing that there's going to be decreases in how many kids are going to be in school, it's going to be a big challenge over the next 10 years.
Is that because population went down?
Population, yeah, in
General,
Franklin
not
County.
just the students, but the people.
Yeah, in Franklin County, yes, they have a lot of homeschooling as well, so those kids aren't going to school, so they're not getting the same money. And then as a state, I mean, people are having fewer kids in general. We have an older population. Some of the immigration stuff, immigrant communities have more kids, and so that's kind of having detrimental impact. Maybe is the way to say that.
We seem to be bucking that trend, though, right?
No, yeah, our population of our school continues to increase, unlike
But
the
you're
other.
doing a lot of school choice too, right?
No, we're actually down in school choice numbers. We can't take on as many, because anytime a house comes up for sale in Clarksburg, someone wants to move, like it's families that want to move to Clarksburg.
Well,
So our numbers are really trending up. I mean, it came out at one point, maybe we had 70 school choice. I think we're down to 40 kids in our school choice, and
That's probably as a result of what's going on in the other communities.
exactly, a lot of feedback I hear, and I'm not, a lot of people don't want to send their kids to North Adams schools. They want to send them to Clarksburg, or that's a lot of our school choices, coming from.
Though there's a great desire now to go in, for kids to go into smaller schools.
Yeah.
Florida, we're trying to save New Ashford right now, because they're caught in a turmoil, because when they go to in other words, when a choice kid comes into your school system from another district, it ends at the 8th grade. You don't have to pay it because you don't have to, and you have You don't have a deal with any other school. Over in New Ashford, the kids that live in New Ashford have the deal, they go to Mount Greylock after, and they're paid tuition by the town of New Ashford. However, there's a little thing in the law that we're trying to change, hopefully it'll happen in the next couple of months, is if a kid comes in from Clarksburg, goes to New Ashford, they own that kid right through high school. And what does that mean? They have to pay
Yeah,
all the way through, and they don't even, it's not even their kid, basically.
yeah.
And, but the whole system of funding education in the state right now is really messed up. And something has to be done looking at it. And they want to go to communities like Clarksburg, and which is a testament to your school system. And they know then afterwards they can go to Choice Inn, to Greylock, Drury, McCann. I think you're part of McCann anyways, aren't you?
Yeah, and believe it or not, I think close to 90, the last couple of years, 90% of our graduating class have gone to McCann.
Yeah, and you know what you're gonna see? And we've said it down there several times, start building more vocational schools in the state. They're realizing you can make more money getting out of there without all the debt that's associated with
And
it.
then find a job.
Yeah, and you can find a job. And but every community, your major expense is education. And that's what costs you the most amount of money. And that's where we're trying to, we are anyways, focus our effort on getting more funding for education. Because if not, the taxpayer, if not, it goes back to the property taxpayer, who's gonna have to foot more of the bill all the time. Now, the last couple of years, I've gotten $200,000, and he protects it on the Senate side, but from the fair share amendment, which is the millionaire's tax, to do a study, to look at how you can better consolidate what's going on here, mainly at the high schools, when you consider what is graduating from our two larger high schools, not McCann taking that into consideration, but it's less than 100 in the last couple of years between the two schools. And it's now a good time to do it because they've now accepted the fact we have consolidation, a sharing of sports teams and stuff like that. It's not as parochial as it was before. We want our own high school, we want this. They're starting to see the handwriting on the wall that there's gonna have to be some consolidation over probably the next 5 to 10 years. And if they don't do it, you're not gonna be able to afford it. It's just as easy as that. It's simple as that.
I do appreciate you putting that earmark in for that regionalization study for us, which I'm on the committee that for part of the Berkshire School Union. And it's gonna be very interesting. We have, our bid just came in, I think Friday afternoon, so we have a meeting on the 20th to review the bids and hire a consultant to start that process.
I tried to keep it quiet because I figured the consultants would see there's more money
I know.
and jump their bid. It didn't work out too well, but I'm sure, but I think there's enough money for you to move forward now anyways.
Absolutely, thank you for that.
So,
How's the formula work now that you were talking about?
The one from the 90s? Oh.
Yeah.
What ends up being each year in the budget that we fund is per pupil is the big one that ends up getting the most funding. So when we meet, we discuss, well, we need rural, we need regional transportation, we need this, we need Gateway Cities funding for Pittsfield, and then Boston says, well, we need such, and we need this, and we need blah, blah, blah. And so then you look at it all, and what ends up happening is we say, well, we all have students, and so we increase the per pupil amount is what ends up getting increases in the budget. And so that works very well in some places. I don't
Cambridge,
think it works. Yeah,
Wellesley.
I don't think it works as well out here as like the biggest factor.
yeah, because they came out and says, oh, and it's called the Education Opportunity Act, which was passed in 2019. They changed the whole formula and how money was dispersed. It used to be on the wealth of a community, basically. And they go to $160 this year, and they said, isn't that great, we're gonna pay it. Because, when they started, $25 a student, I think they were reimbursing.
Yeah, it's gone up a lot.
That's great, but what happens to a place that's losing population? and it's not gonna do them. So they said, oh, we took care of that. We did save harmless?
Yeah, hold harmless.
Hold harmless. Hold harmless, and so every community could not be cut from what they got the prior year.
Right.
Well, anybody dealing with inflation knows that ain't gonna work. And that the actual cost coming back into the community. So that's the area we're trying to work on and change.
Because it's overwhelmingly population-based, right?
Yeah, and it's, and this fair share amendment, the only one probably being taxed on is probably you, Chuck, because you pay that tax of over $1 million every year.
Yeah.
And you're in
As he should.
But anyways, that has been a tremendous source of money, and it's gone up each and every year, and will continue to go up. So we've been able to now get into that, and it only can be used for education and transportation. But last year, we nailed them good on education, but this year, MBTA took it over and got a lot more money for the transportation aspect of it. So maybe next year it'll be our turn to get more out for education. But it has been a tremendous source of money, and it continues to increase. And as long as the Red Sox players and the Bruins players and the Patriots also live in Boston, or state of Massachusetts rather, we'll continue to have a lot more coming in with the contracts that they're signing. But but education's a funding process for it. It's really not fair. And you can't compare a Clarksburg and a Washford, or a Peru, or Savoy in Florida, to what's going on in metropolitan areas in Boston. Most of them actually are going to charter schools now, especially in the Boston area, which is another contentious point for a lot of people too. So.
How does the state determine the amount they pay to a town for a pilot program?
We don't want to talk about that.
Yeah. No. It's based on land value, which is why the same acre of land here in Clarksburg or in Savoy is valued so much less than in Plymouth. I think that's the example they use, is like Plymouth versus Savoy. Yeah.
A rock.
Yeah, so what's happening right now, and to like give a little more background, is for people that don't know, when the state owns land, it doesn't have to pay a property tax, like when I own land or you do or whatever. And so there's this program called Payments in Lieu of Taxes pilot, and there's the total pot of money that the state government puts into pilot funding for the whole state, and then there's this formula of how it's allocated, and the formula, again, is very land value heavy. And so we find that towns like Peru that are 50% state-owned land get really shortchanged compared to coastal communities where land is so much more expensive. And so the governor, just in the last 2 months, has formed a commission, and I think there's at least one appointee from the Berkshires, if not two, and there's a couple of legislators on it, and they're going to try to come up with a way to make that formula, another formula. All these formulas inevitably end up not working as well for us because we have so many fewer people, but to try to make a formula that reflects the value of land in a different way, that like buying an acre of land in Plymouth might cost $800,000 compared to $100,000 here, but there's a value to the benefits to the state of having acres of land that are forested and acres of land that are held in conservation, things like that. And so then what we're hoping for is we'll have a chance to vote on a better formula, and then when the formula's better, then we'll fight to get more money in the pot. Because like putting more money in the pot now is just going to make more money go to Plymouth. I mean, obviously we'll get a little bit of it. But so the governor is trying to like put her stamp on it, which means she actually wants something to happen, which makes me feel good that something will happen in the next year or two.
Yeah, and see what happens when the state down the road here took some property It was quite some time ago, but it, by the Hudson Brook, is that the right area? They took that land, they paid $16,000 or $20,000 for it to the town, and the town gets it, but gets the money for it. But anyways, I guess what, and you correct me if I'm wrong on this, but a piece of property on Cape Cod, they value as though a hotel would go there, right on the beach, right on the water. And they'll put, oh, this is worth about $45 million, this land, because of that. Even though the land was taken over by that community to stop all that from happening, yet they still get valued that high for it. Now, in Clarksburg, where this property down here was paid $16,000 for, maybe it has a value of $200,000. But if it was down on the Cape, it would probably be $2 million. So you see what I'm saying? It's all disjointed in the way they value property. They should have one simple formula for it. Because especially when down there, they're trying to preserve land, open space. And they're not gonna put a hotel on there. And so it's not really that's not the true value that they're placing on it. But in the meantime, we get maybe a couple of $1 million more in the pot every year, and then we go back and say, hey, we got more money for you on the pilot program. But guess what? It probably means nothing. Negligent, really. And so that's what we're trying. And I haven't figured it out yet, or how they can
I
do
went
it.
to a meeting up in Windsor a year ago, so.
Yeah,
And it was
yeah.
up in, they were talking about, we're trying to get, the evaluations like double out here. We only get $30,000 for 4,300 acres, which is 53% of our town.
Right.
And they say, well, the value of the land's not valuable. But my point, and I brought it up when you had Beacon Hill, the Berkshires, is that up on West Road or Horgan Road, there are some areas where if we had 10 acres, 1 acre lots that were $500,000 houses on, we would get $75,000 a year in taxes.
Right.
We only get $30,000 for 4,300. I mean, so we get 2.5 times. So that land is valuable to Clarksburg because we could put building on it. But to the state, well, that land's not valuable. It's only worth $7 an acre or something like that.
Right.
It's like really awful. And also, I know there was some book property, but up off of West Road, the tourist was interested in buying 35 acres that were going to be for sale. The state came right in and outbid them to protect that land. Again, they could have done something there.
But you
that
know
brought in
what?
some tax
There's a
money.
little known thing too. The town can object to the purchase of that property. And then it comes to the state representative who also has to sign off on it when they want to expedite it. Or I don't know.
Both of us.
Both
yeah,
of us have
yeah,
to.
yeah.
We have to sign off on this. And I've told several communities, don't take the land that's on now taxable, unless you're gonna get that back. And, but the small towns don't all understand that. No.
No,
I never saw
I
it
didn't know
unless the
about
town
it.
tells me.
So how is it initiated by the town? How can they?
Well, the town is notified by the state DCR, and that they're gonna be taking this property, or it could be DOT even. And then they go to the community and says, are you in favor of it? And I've told a lot of communities, stop giving your land away. A lot of communities give their land away, and, which they shouldn't do, but it can be stopped. There is a process to stop it, and it's successful at times. And say a company came through and bought that property up there. Before okay, it's not a bad deal or something like this, but you can cut a deal, just with the state, try to shake them down, I guess, but, the state I'm talking about. But try to get more money, for it, okay.
One other point that Lisa Blackmer brought up, a great point down there, was saying when they protect the land down on the beaches and stuff, hotels, restaurants and stuff are going up, so the town's also going to get money that way.
Yeah.
When they take our land, there's not going to be a hotel put up on West Road, so it's just, we don't get any income from them taking it. So it's like, and I think in all this, with the busing and this, all we're looking for is fairness. We realize there's only so much money in the state. You got $50 billion, but there's $200 billion the town wants. You have to make decisions. we're just looking for fairness, and we feel that the two things we brought up today just are not fair. And I don't know what you can do being in such a minority, but we
Well,
definitely
just
wanna-
continue to bring people
Yeah,
to the surface.
Oh, we appreciate you.
And we're having a good impact, which is like, again, when you consider like the numbers that we're up against, the fact that there are going to be commissions to reevaluate both education formula and the pilot formula. We've already had big wins on Chapter 90, transportation road money, where the traditional formula was based on like somewhat road miles and population factors and even employment factors, and now we got it split that half the money comes through the traditional formula and half of it comes just through road miles, which benefits us, is big progress. And
Well, we appreciate that, and we
Thanks.
understand that. We know you're working very
Yeah,
hard.
and the thing of it is, and I didn't adjust too well when I first went down there. You know, I'm used to being a mayor. You do this, you do this, you do this, and they say, get in the back of the line.
Yeah.
Now, but you understand, try to understand the system and how it works. And it takes 6, 7 years sometimes to get something changed down there. But this road mileage is a big deal for a place like Clarksburg and the Savoys, and even Williamstown's gonna benefit a lot from it because they have so much road mileage. It's one of the largest in the state. And also how you're using your Chapter 90 money is important too. You know, you don't wanna go buy, hey, geez, we need a new big piece of equipment. You take that and you bond it out over years. Take that other money and try to use it for road, making sure that it's going to the potholes and roadways, fixing, getting a good capital outlay program. And that's the thing we're trying to do with Chapter 90 money. So you get it once a year, but let you, get it all up front possibly for a 5-year. If there's a 5-year bonding on it, the state's gonna give you money, getting to give you your share the whole 5 years. So if it's $100,000 a year, you get $500,000, get all the because that would allow you to do more. And then we renew it. But there's all things that are down there that you try to get across to them and stuff like that. But we have made progress. That's a big deal with the Chapter 90. And we see some more do it. Yeah, and when I went in was 9 years ago. You've been there twice that amount of time, and
but I'm the youngest member.
Yeah, you're the youngest. But the point being is that you never heard the word rural before. They're talking rural all over the place now, which is good. And speaking of rural, anyhow, but that's important.
Thank you.
And just to follow up with the pilot program funding, I went through the DLS website and was printing out kind of like the sheet that shows how it's rated for each town. Yeah, I shared this with you when I was out at your Beacon Hill event and showed you, if you will, we were the lowest, I think, dollar per acre on that. I went through almost, compared to like North Adams, Savoy, Florida, Peru, and just, we were the absolute lowest value price per acre on there. It was actually, quite sad to see that on there.
Yeah, and the reason being sometimes, you don't have water, you don't have sewer.
Yeah.
So they factor all these things in so that they can take it down. And also understand too, a lot of it's done by bureaucrats that sit in back rooms, I think.
Yeah.
And come up with ways, and they come up with policy and stuff like that. These aren't state laws, a lot of them, right?
Yeah, regulation.
They're regulation established by DOT. The last time I checked, DOT didn't have any elected officials in there making these decisions, and DCR and all these other agencies. But they come up with these regulations, and then we get the calls on the phone saying, what are you gonna do about it? So then we go to the administration and ask them to, geez, would you take a look at this? But that's a big problem too.
Is there consideration in the formula as to the percentage of state-owned property in a town? Like
That
the
would
state
be a
owns 50% and maybe more.
That would be a good
Our tax
factor.
base is shrunk, we can't really expand it. So if we need something, we have to raise taxes or grants or, different funds, the Chapter 90 for those.
Yeah, that,
Like we
That's a
said,
good
you know, we
idea.
are losing
Yeah,
our police
yeah.
department. You know, only way we can survive is to cut.
Yeah.
And I think police department is a vital service to any town. And now, you know, with the school, of course, budget goes up, and our budget goes up too, but we're forced to cut places that are, you know, the police department was hard to cut. And now there's like, you know, the tension between the town and the school, because we're just fighting over funds that we don't have. And, you know, the town has to just keep cutting, you know, part-time workers, we can't compete with the salaries. It just seems to be snowballing. And at this point, you know, with the pilot money, it's just, I think it's been on our minds for decades. But, you know, regardless of the current, you know, climate and political climate, it's just been this ongoing problem. And now I think it's just severe if we don't find a way to get some funds into Clarksburg.
I'm surprised some young upstart lawyer hasn't looked into this case for communities that can make a name for themselves. Much in the same way that education reform that came in way back in 1993, which was the fairest thing that we saw. Because you're always going to make somebody mad and somebody happy when you start doing formulas. But in this particular case, someone basically sues and says, hey, they go to court, Clarksburg isn't getting a fair shake here, Savoy isn't getting a fair shake here, and actually takes it into a court of law and sues. There's a good chance, all right, that case will be won because of it's not fair. It simply isn't fair. There's no other explanation.
it's having a detrimental effect.
Yeah, yeah, so, but that's what happened in the Education Reform Act in 1993. This family, I don't know if it's a Sullivan family or something, they were very dissatisfied with the formula, and I think they came from New Bedford or one of those, but they won that case. But I think before they won it, the legislature at that time decided we better fix this, and they fixed it. And then they unfixed it in 2007. But it's those types of things. We see ballot questions all over the place, but right now what you have to see is some ways that you can fix what you've got there.
But that's a good idea, like.
That is.
The percent of how much of the town is owned, I don't think they can comprehend that, wait, 56% of your town is owned by the state? I think that would be like, in a place like Lawrence, so I think that would be eye-opening.
Yeah, I don't know, I heard some figure, if we raise our taxes by like $1, it only raises, what, 100,000 or something dollars? We have like, what, 650 or less homes,
Right,
residences
right.
in town? I mean, the tax burden is a lot, especially when a third of your community is, you know, over the age of 65. It's just these burdens just keep getting.
Yeah.
And you think about that, $1 only raises $120,000. I mean, $120,000
Not
is
gonna go
nothing.
far.
Or $1
Right,
in
for
tax
what
rate
we're
is a
talking
lot.
It won't even get you 20 feet on a highway do you want to pay or something, or road you want to pay.
Right.
No, these are, nobody has the answers, I can tell you that much, but that's a good idea.
It is a good idea, yeah, like a boost, depending on like, if you're like up to a quarter, you get this boost, and if you're 25 to 40%, and if you're 40 or higher, you know, that's a big impediment to the town if you can't take it on. And the state has a policy that the state won't, there's no net loss. We don't give away land, we're always adding land to the state rolls. And I feel like it's close to 50% of the whole state is owned in conservation of some type, whether it's farm or owned by the state. And they want us to conserve trees and clean the air for the whole state. Like we want to be the stewards of the land, but like you have to contribute to that burden. It shouldn't fall on a small town like this.
Isn't that counterproductive for the state to get money to come in?
To own so much land. Yeah,
If they own that much land,
Yeah.
they're not getting tax money to come in.
You're not thinking of that.
Right, but some of it is that people put their land into preservation for farm purposes or agricultural purposes. So that counts into this idea that 50% of the state land can't be developed, I guess is the way to say it right now. And yeah, but you're right, that does have an impact on how much the state of Massachusetts can grow, good or bad.
See, what they found too is they're now starting to look at some of this property they've taken for conservation purposes and look at it building housing on it, which wasn't the original intent.
Yeah,
You know.
which is
Oh, you
interesting.
mean the state's gonna build houses?
Well, they'll get a developer who's gonna come in, they'll make that land available to a developer and sell it to them.
That's like a leasehold or something, yeah.
See, that's the inclination I see coming out of the administration.
Like the people could own the building, but
The property is still owned by the state.
something like that, yeah. Like almost like a homeowners association.
Yeah,
So
they
they
can never
still wait.
revert back.
There still wouldn't be any property taxes collected.
There would from the buildings,
Oh, yeah.
from the units, but yeah, from
Like
the
an
land,
HOA.
there still wouldn't be, that's true. Yeah, like an HOA, yeah. So if that starts happening, then we need a new way to tax that entity as well.
Another formula.
Yeah, there's a lot of formulas.
You didn't limp in here just to say hello to us, did you?
No, and they promised my appointment would be out, so I'd be here on time, so.
You got anything you wanna fire away at us?
No, I don't want to do it now, just
Okay.
trying to catch up, because I don't know where people were.
It's mostly been funding so far.
So you know, my wife and I went down to see Christine Wacko a couple of years ago about issues with Clarksburg when I was on the select board, and she's in charge of the senior center. And she asked me to do a study.
Of which we just got you $10,000 for, so you can let her know.
Great, I will.
Come July 1st.
I will, thank you. But she asked me to do a project to see what percentage of pilot program all the way down to Belchertown and around the Quabbin Reservoir, because she said that was a big issue for them down there also.
Yeah.
And she mentioned something, what Susan said, she mentioned something that she'd like to know what percentage of each town is owned by the state, and if that shouldn't be in the formula. So I just want to let you know that she's been aware of that also.
Great ideas, great minds think
Yeah.
alike.
Taking notes, right?
Lots of notes.
Survival of our town depends on
Do you know of any other surrounding communities that have done like solar on their schools or any programs available for that? Because one thing we're looking into for Clarksburg School is now we have the new roof on it, is to possibly add solar to it. And like right now, like I was just looking at our last electric bill, it was $4,500 for the month. So you know, that's good, $40,000 to $50,000 per year we're paying in electric. So we're just trying to look, even little stuff all adds up over time. So I just didn't know if you know of any programs possibly available for something like that, or other communities that have done it that we could, you know,
Other
find out some
places-
information.
Other places have done it, we can try to find you some resources.
Great.
Yeah.
So make sure we go about it the right way and don't miss any funding
Yeah, and
opportunities.
There is a folding chair if you'd
That's
like.
broken.
No, I'm good.
Oh, don't sit in it though.
There's
There's a really nice chair here.
No, I don't want to be up there.
Getting back what you said about that, we also have the net metering problem, right? How much the electric companies are squeezing for not doing it. They don't want to because they're not making the money they think they should be making. And let me just touch on electricity rates and stuff like that. And Paul was involved in it when he was in the House. We, went after the DPU, which sets all the rates in the state for the electric companies and things like that. And back then, they were 2023, I believe, the rates were really starting to go up. And they set the rate for the electric company in April. This is just an example, my figures may be wrong, but they set the rates for National Grid and other companies in April. And at that time, they set it because, believe it or not, even higher than what it is today, oil was about $120 a barrel, which they based allowing their electric companies to raise it. By the end of July, those rates dropped down to $70. Yet they built it into their electric rates, which they go out and charge the people. And so one thing we've been able to do is they now change the rates. They have to be done a couple of times a year and looked at and reviewed. And I always call the DPU the great secret society in Massachusetts. You going on there, you couldn't figure where you were. You know, what was going on, what decision was being made. They've opened that process up now. And hopefully, the rates have gone up dramatically, but they'll hopefully stay on. But just recently, and we were there, we testified against the increase for the gas company, the Berkshire Gas. A lot of you it may not impact, but they actually delayed any action at the DPU, which means hopefully there's a change coming in dealing with that, and a change coming in the amount of what, how many solar panels can be allowed in the community and the net metering type of regulations, because the electric companies have fought those for a long, long time. And the reason being is because they're taking away, what, I don't understand all of it. They take away the credits or something.
The net metering?
Yeah, the net
Yeah,
metering.
If you used 2 kilowatts, but you generated 3 kilowatts, then they actually owe you a kilowatt worth of electricity. Does that make sense to my system?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but there's a limit. So if you generated 80 kilowatts, they'd be like, sorry, you're only allowed to generate 50. And so you can generate as much as you want, we're only gonna pay you for 50. So there's a cap.
And they make money.
And they make money off it.
So we're trying to stop a lot of that stuff that, and to a lot of them, this isn't the sexiest thing in the world, talking about electric rates, but it has become very sexy in the sense that it impacts the people that everybody represents. And so hopefully that will deal with the problem that you're talking about and see what happens. But those two right there will find that answer out. Our left and right hand.
Does the extra kilowatts that are produced, do they go back to the town, or are they sold to different
If
places
it's-
in the Commonwealth?
If it's at the school, so no, actually, no matter where it is, if you generate more than you consume, the company has to take it and it goes back out onto the grid, and yeah, they distribute it everywhere.
So it doesn't stay.
Yeah.
And see, right now, they're talking about AI. That's gonna take up a tremendous amount of electricity. And that, and Massachusetts isn't ready to deal with it.
No.
They
And
can't,
water.
yeah, and water.
And water.
And so right now, we have the second highest rates. First, if you call the continental United States, we have the first, or the highest rates of any state. The second, first one is Hawaii. But in the continental United, we're number 1, number 2 overall, which tells you they don't have, we have to expand the grid and
Generation, we don't generate power.
Yeah.
Is a issue.
generating.
Is an issue.
Berkshire Regional Planning has been wonderful in helping little towns out, because we're all lay people, you know, we're not involved, don't know how to do a lot of things, even with the computer. It's getting way above me now, it's so hard for me to find grants and things like that. But, we have a mill up here that R.I. Baker and Ribco in Pittsfield they own. And I went over and talked to them about what we can do to get grants to possibly do something with mill, either making it so that storefronts can come in or businesses can come in, or possibly even housing. And he looked at it, but the one-step program, again, for a layperson, it was like, I think he just gave up.
Yeah.
Is there any way that the state or through Berkshire Regional Planning can help people get through these programs?
You don't even have to go through them. They have what they call a program, what is underutilized properties,
Yeah.
which is a great state program, and any property that's being underutilized, just for what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And you have a plan, say that you were gonna go in there and put art galleries or whatever you wanted in there. And they will step forward and be very helpful, but it's the underutilized.
Underutilized?
Where'd Ron go? He could look that up and,
Okay.
underutilized property.
And
Underutilized property.
Ann Goby can help with that. That's what a function of her office is supposed to be. And her assistant, is her name Maureen specifically, is supposed to help smaller communities that don't have the resources to work on grant applications and that kind of thing. They're there for that. And yeah, I think the RPC is supposed to be doing that as well, so.
I know, they've been wonderful.
Okay.
Our MVP program and, gosh, a lot of grants, they help us out in Brooksville Water District. So they're
But that's,
wonderful.
but that underutilized property is.
Underutilized property.
Yeah.
If Goby's
Thank
office
you.
maybe can help you with the underutilized properties program. that'd be good.
Yeah, because that's really the only spot in Clarksburg that we can have any kind of industry or income taxes, otherwise it's all goes to the taxpayer.
And you only have one tax rate in town, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've ran the numbers on it many times, you know, to set the tax rate, it just doesn't make
It's
any
not gonna
difference
fit.
for
Not here,
us.
yeah.
Or very, very minimal that it's not worth doing, I should say.
Sometimes it can get you in trouble
Yeah.
too. Ron, would you like to add anything to this conversation?
Yeah, we need more money. No.
We've already
No,
discussed
the only thing
it.
that concerned me is the amount of land the state owns. 54% of our available property is owned by the state, and we get a measly $20,000 a year, which is ludicrous. I know me and Bob been to meetings up in Windsor, and they say they're working on it, but I don't believe it, because if they change our formula, they gotta change the formula out east, and it's gonna result in millions and millions of dollars, so. I think your idea of getting a hotshot lawyer on something like that may work, but,
Yeah, it's called equity.
yeah,
And,
absolutely, absolutely. So, for us, we just keep going after grants out here, and get as much as we can, and continue to do things.
There are a lot of great programs, and that program right there is a good one.
And good fiscal management works too, let me tell you that.
And volunteerism.
Yeah, yeah.
But Clarksburg in the last few years has cashed in pretty good on a couple of $1 million.
Yeah. That's what's up.
We watch those very closely.
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
district.
And I'll be seeing you again soon, asking for assistance with some other stuff, so.
Fortunately, it's the only way we feel we can really get major road projects done is, you know, through grant funding.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And outdoor recreation is getting to be a big economy out here. And at some point in time, Clarksburg will be in that mix and will be taking advantage of it. We started to put more money into the Clarksburg State Forest, getting that fixed up a little better, but still needs a lot more work, as does Natural Bridge, even though not in your community, certainly. But there's going to be more and more of an influx of tourists that will come through here. You know, who knows? You may have there's a project going on at Brody Mountain, which over in New Ashford, some of you might have read about, but that's going to be a big project when you think about, you know, the possibility of people wanting to get away from the city and want to be part-time homeowners and stuff like that. That's what you want to see. Not something that's going to disrupt your community. And kids going into your schools, that's dropped, huh? Kids
For school choice?
for school choice.
School choice, because we don't have the numbers,
Yeah.
just because we have so many residents coming in.
So you lose 40 of them, that's 200,000 a year, right?
Yeah, I know, like,
20,000.
the amount of money they have coming in school choice has dropped significantly, but our chapter 70 is up because of the additional enrollment. But now we're looking, you know, like Iberch at our lot, we're looking at possibly offering tuition agreements for Reedsboro right now, as they just close their school in Reedsboro, Vermont. And, you know, and by tuition agreement, that's 3 times more money than we would get for a school choice student, so that may be more
Yeah, and that
beneficial for
money-
funding for
yeah,
us.
You're gonna have to run as many bus routes, you're gonna have to put as many kids in it, or if this is your room and you can only put, or you're only putting 10 in, and you can put 20 kids in it, you can see how it goes
Yeah. We're doing our best, whatever we can, wherever we can find funding to keep things going.
up. That man right there is tighter than bark to a tree.
Frugal, I'm not cheap, I'm frugal.
I just said you're tighter than bark to a tree.
We thought you were talking about Chuck.
We got 50,000 also in the fair share money to help programming at Clarksburg. It's coming through the union or something, but
Yeah, through North Berkshire School.
yeah.
Union.
So when people ask us, we're there to try to help. So you're doing a good job of asking. So keep it up.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
No, that's important. Everything from the school system to the fire department, even though it's separate, I mean, they pick up a lot of money from that end of it, and that helps, so.
I don't know if any of this is possible. You speak of recreation. Back 20 years ago, when Gail and Critty was on the bike trail committee, I went to a lot of meetings. And originally, it was going to go from Massamoka, it was going to come up through Clarksburg, to hit Natural Bridge, Clarksburg State Park, and hit Route 100, because Route 100 is Vermont's designated bicycle route, which is right here. And nothing against Williamstown. But Williamstown, no, we gotta have it come over here. I'm not against that. There should be a spur that goes over there. But it's like, we've now forgotten. And I always felt that it would be great to connect the state park of Natural Bridge. Clarksburg State Park is a wonderful camping and parking area. I mean, I got handicap showers and hot water, everything up there. And then it would connect on to Route 100. And I always felt that would be a great plus, but it sort of died with the Williamstown spur coming into it.
Yeah, there's a lot of activity that's going on, and mountain bike riding is a big deal now, and that's coming out of New Ashford and Hancock and up through there, and they're looking, they want to go into the state of Vermont. And there's
And
plans.
Route 100 is their designated bike route.
Can someone send me an email about this? We're not doing a transportation bond this year, but in the future we will. And if I have this on a list somewhere, we'll try to dedicate some money to it. And I'll tell people, in 2012, like the very first bond earmark I got was to make the bike trail go into Pittsfield more. And it took them 9 years to do it, but having it on the books matters, you know, so yeah, please.
Is that okay with you, Dan? I'll send an email.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely, think about it.
And I'll put it in the folder I have, and
And
at
see,
that
and
point.
the reason for bond issues, they always say that's funny money because you don't know, it's not real money, you gotta get it appropriated by the governor
Half the time.
half the time, but you know, but Massamoka was bond, it took them 14 years, but they got $35 million out of the bond issue eventually. So once it's there and renewed every 5 years or so, that money is permanently there and earmarked for a specific project. Greylock Glen, I hate to say how many years they had it. And, you know, I finally got that out, whether we get it out in 2019 or 20. But it was there, so it's important to get them in these bond
And
issues.
we're patient. I mean, our one-lane bridge has been 7 years. One lane, I mean, the fire department's on one side and the school's on the other. But we're patient, and now it's on the TIP program. So in 2029, we're gonna start, and the state's gonna do the whole thing, or the
Yeah.
federal government.
And we told them 5 years ago to do that too, but.
Yeah. But it's just patience is a key. You can be inconvenienced and it'll pay off in the long run, so we understand that. But I will get that, because I think Natural Bridge is a wonderful state park, and it's a hidden gem, and
Yeah, we brought the commissioner there. He didn't last long.
Didn't last long.
so it'd be nice to connect the state parks, it really would.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, it's a real tremendous asset, and, but the new commissioner that's in there now for Natural Bridge, we brought up there last fall, trying, you know, to take a look at it, tying that in with Western Gateway Heritage State Park, which is a mess, getting that fixed up, and tying them all in, and then you're gonna have people going through your town. And you know what? You'll see more bed and breakfasts pop up, you know, around there, because it's just beautiful. It's just God's country, and you can take advantage of it, but you gotta have the traffic to do it. People say, how come you don't put an Outback Steakhouse down in North Adams or something? Because they ain't the numbers. You have the numbers. And once you have that, you'll be all set.
I have a question on gasoline. I believe we pay 18 cents federal tax per, road tax per gallon. I don't know what the state road tax,
21?
is it 21? Okay. How do they tax electric cars? I mean, if I own an electric car, and I'm charging the car at my house, how does that person that owns an electric car pay road tax like people that have gasoline cars?
It's 24 cents per gallon. That is the big question, and they pay excise tax, the same as a normal car. They pay whatever fees they pay for the electricity, but they don't pay what you're talking about. They don't pay the
I mean,
gas.
going over the roads, there's more, as I drive, there's more and more of them on the
Yeah.
road. I don't think they're a good purchase for someone who lives in the Northeast. I mean, when my son moved to Kentucky, it takes about 14 hours to get there. I'd have to leave here if I had an electric car with a full charge and charge it twice more
You know,
before I get there. And from what I'm told, it could take up to 2 hours to charge a car.
so
But I'm just wondering what, they're going across the roads.
the problem when we start talking about this is the suggestion I've heard is mileage tax. So let's charge cars a mileage tax, and then that is really bad for us
Yeah,
here
really bad
in,
for us.
in Western Mass. So how to adapt some kind of maybe a mileage tax, but only to non-gasoline vehicles is like the trick. But there was a proposal. There was a proposal, a bill filed, and it wasn't even to implement a mileage tax. It was to consider how the state of Massachusetts would address gaps, like you're saying, and how we would try to encourage people to use less fossil fuels and blah blah blah. And I must have got 800 emails saying, "No mileage tax, that'll kill me." So it's like it's very politically charged how to do it. But it's you're right. If we're going to be like a majority electric vehicles in the next 10 years, it's going to be a real problem because the amount of gas tax money available to use for Chapter 90 and all these other road projects is going to be decimated. So.
Yeah, and just following up with Paul, the governor was up here, I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago in North Adams, and someone in the audience asked the question, what's this tax, or not tax, limited the amount of miles you can go, then you're taxed on every, and I said, there's no way that's ever gonna go through, and simply everybody would be complaining about it, but I remember the governor was trying to answer the question, and then the lieutenant governor tried to answer the question too, and I finally just stood up and said, it's dead on arrival. And it was dead on arrival, the bill being filed, and, which is absurd. But they tried to, back in, I think, 2019, the Ways and Means Committee was, not the Ways and Means Committee, it was that Transportation, was recommending another 10 cents on the tax here in Massachusetts. That was part of the big plan. And I can remember arguing against it, because they don't understand the impact, that 10 cents. We don't have a transportation system like they have.
We don't have an alternative.
Yeah, we don't have that alternative, and thank God COVID came along and they forgot about it. But they tried to put that in all the time, and it's a serious problem. But again, we're a foreign country, and they don't understand the problems that we face. You know, when they talk about a traffic jam, our idea of a traffic jam is if you have to wait more than a minute and a half to stop somewhere. You know, but you have but down there they have the same complaint. It takes, to go 7 miles from Medford into Boston, it can take an hour and a half sometimes for those reps to get in there. And then we face it when we get in, when we drive down. It's not bad until we hit certain areas, and then we get into the city, it really backs up, so. Everybody's got a problem, I guess, is the best way to explain it. But that's their problem.
I always thought the Senate should be set up like the federal government. We should have 2 senators for every county.
Yeah, that would be
And then
good.
we'd have to give us equal representation.
That would be good. It was actually the opposite. It's funny. You didn't say that.
Man, wrong party.
When the Constitution was established in 1780, there was 40 senators. Always been 40 senators, but back then every town got a rep. So it was actually the opposite, and that just faded away over time. So it's a good idea. It's not a bad idea.
Not that I would ever go along with
No,
it.
but it's a good idea. No, it would be a constitutional amendment. I file a constitutional amendment every 2 years to create a plan to fill the position of lieutenant governor if he becomes is vacant, and that goes nowhere. So believe it or not, we've seen this in the last 10 years. If the lieutenant governor leaves or dies or whatever happens, there is no mechanism to fill that position. So it's bizarre. But I file an amendment to fix that. It would be like 2 words, and no, we can't do that. So I imagine adding a bunch of senators per county would probably be even more difficult.
There'd only be 34 senators, it's only 17 counties.
That's true, there'd be less of us, so no one would go for that.
My dad, he was very political. He was head of the Democratic Party for New Berkshire for years, and brought Malati around and stuff. He told Frank Costa once, he said, the only way we're going to be heard is if we try to secede from the Connecticut River west.
Right.
And either try to join Vermont or become our own state. Because he said otherwise we're never going to be heard. And it's hard. So you do the best you can.
You don't want the taxes in New York right now.
No.
Food tax, grocery tax, you gotta pay and all that. John, you wanna add anything to this conversation?
Sorry, I'm late. But I was gonna ask you about the rural aid. What do you think, estimate of, I see between 10 and 20 million, the different proposals in the state budgets, what do you think that's gonna land?
Yeah, ours is good. We're on the 20 million side,
Yeah.
so we're hopeful. I actually filed an amendment to go up to 25, just to keep like some pressure on. But yeah, I feel hopeful that we're gonna end up closer to 20 than 10.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
They talk about this being the last year of the Student Opportunity Act. That doesn't
Yeah.
help,
Yeah.
here really. So
Yeah.
that rural aid is so important. So appreciate the advocacy for it. I know you're both doing the best you can.
We're trying.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough sell, as we talked about it before. I'd gotten, 2 million into the
Yeah.
other thing, but that's not even, that would only add to what was there. And now, but that allowed the Senate to bring it forward, and Paul's been very strong advocate of that, to get it up to 20 million bucks, because it's only 12 million now, I believe,
For the current fiscal
for the
year.
current fiscal year. So if we can get an extra $8 million, that's gonna be very helpful.
Yeah, because dropping it last year,
Yeah, that
there was
was
an impact from that.
very unexpected. Yeah, it went from 5 million the year before I was in the Senate to 15, and then I was like, let's keep going. And they were like, well, you can only do 16 because we don't ever want to cut it back. So we did 16, and then the next year we level funded it at 16, and somehow in the conference committee that had 2 Western Massachusetts people on it, it got cut, and I will never understand what happened.
The other thing I can share is that regionalization study, the RFP closed on Friday, we had 6 proposals, so looking forward to seeing where that.
Yeah, we mentioned that before, that's, gotta keep that alive and well.
Yeah, next meeting's on the 20th, so we gotta move quick on hiring somebody, because we have the money that, the 25,000, we got that one grant, has to be built out by the 30th of June, so. At the committee meeting, we're gonna get them.
Which is good, it's not gonna happen overnight,
Right.
But it's.
Gotta get started though,
Yeah.
that's the thing, I guess, gotta get started. But thanks for your support on that too, that's huge. So the towns don't have to pay to get started. That's great.
Thank you, everybody, for coming, and I hope it was informational. And if you have other questions that you don't want to talk about in public, you always can email us, always can come to one of our office hours privately, and we'll always have you chat. And yeah, we're going to be doing the state budget in the next 2 weeks on the Senate side, so if there's something you hear about that you think I should be supporting, but please do directly let me know.
Yeah, so a lot of people don't understand how the budget starts. The governor submits her budget to the House, which is dead on arrival. We do our budget, and we submit it to the Senate, which is dead on arrival. And they get the last whack at it, and then we end up going to conference committee, which can be, rather time consuming. But, so we don't know what's gonna come out of there, from that end. That's Callie from my office, Casey Peace from Senator Mark's office. They do all the work. We beat on them, and we blame them. So, anything goes wrong, so.
Although from what I understand, John's hotter in Cali than Paul is on it.
No doubt there.
I hope you pay him well.
Not really, especially with the travel they have to do.
Well, thank you for taking your time. This has been
Thank
very
you.
nice.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for coming to Clarksburg, it's much appreciated.
See you again in 2 years.
No, but anytime that something comes up, you know, no questions.